Hello, good afternoon, evening already almost. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me again. It's nice to see the front row full of familiar faces. We had an amazing workshop this morning, and I hope some learnings from that as well. I'm here to talk about virtual production and the projects I've had the pleasure of working on. And just quickly to my own person, I'm a virtual production supervisor. So my role is technically to interface between the production, the creative people, and the technical department to kind of translate those different languages and to get them as comfortable as possible to shoot with a lot of technology on set. I had the pleasure and the chance to work on a couple of really cool projects. I mean, one of my favorites, obviously, Poor Things. We're going to dive in that one a bit later as well. And I had the pleasure to travel around the world the last couple of years and work and set up and design a couple of studios all around here, and also one here right in this school, actually. The one upstairs, Linda brought me on, and we set up this amazing stage together. But yeah, now times have changed, and I joined an amazing virtual production studio up in Helsinki in Finland, which goes by the name of Fireframe. And Fireframe is a bit unique in a sense that it incorporates a lot more than just the traditional in-camera VFX. So we work from anything in film production to VFX, all the way to games, live shows, AI, and basically VR and AR. And that makes it quite interesting because we use a shared common base of tool sets, of basically knowledge, of experience from different industries to create a fairly unique result and everything basically around it. But today, just summing it up, what we do is usually use real-time tools as well. For example, such as the Unreal Engine. We create a lot of worlds, different environments, different setups, and everything like that in the game engine, and then use it for creating extended set pieces, interactive live events, or basically big-scale motion picture movies and TV series. Right. Today we're going to focus on the film part, though, because just covering all of this is going to, I don't know, mainly be too much for this kind of presentation. And just briefly, for those people who aren't aware what in-camera VFX or virtual production is, what we mainly do on set is basically build a physical set. So, for example, this plinth in the foreground on this set is completely physical. That's where the actors are standing, fighting, and basically battling in here. And then in the background on this enormously big TV, so essentially just as this LED wall, just a bit bigger most of the times, we create digital worlds which then flawlessly extend the ones in the foreground. So we can make more grand images, way more like impressive looks and everything like that. And yeah, that's what we do in real time, and we mainly use Unreal Engine in the background. This was a research project in Bavaria, together with Netflix, ARRI, and the Bavaria studios. And maybe in this video you got a bit more like clear idea on what it is doing. That's me. And then basically what we did is we have a control unit. That's just basically where we control the background, where we basically adjust everything that is happening in the scene. We can move trees, weather, effects, and everything like that. Then in the foreground we have traditional set building, which gets extended into the digital world. And we have a camera that is tracked and has a fully representative form of digital cameras, as we just learned. And that's how we can basically recreate what the camera would see if we would have it in a complete 3D space. And the fun thing about this entire thing is we have it on a screen, so everybody on the set can see what's going on. There's no guesswork on if the frame is actually working or not. You have a lot more interaction, and it's just more fun to work with, I have to be honest, in that sense. And that was a really cool setup and a really cool project in general, because we tested as well to create the illusion of a full 360 shoot with just basically a LED wall in one directional background. And when we look at the final result, I mean, you can judge for yourself if we succeeded with that or not. There were a couple of really interesting kind of trickeries and stuff going on in this shoot. One, we had the foreground set of kind of a rotating plinth. So when we shot into the different direction, we rotated the foreground set and kept, of course, all the LED and everything static. But the illusion was then that we basically see more of the screen, even though there was nothing in the screen. In this specific stage, we also didn't have an LED ceiling, so low-angle shots became a bit difficult, which is, in a second, you're going to see basically an outtake there, which is a bit of a challenge, of course, because in a fight scene, somebody is going to land on the floor at some point. Prime example, number one. And if you want to do the low-angle shot, where you basically have the illusion that you shoot towards the ceiling, this becomes difficult. But since we're in a digital world, we can just tilt basically the background. So this specific shot and this one, might be a bit difficult without a ceiling. But what we've done is we just set the actors upright and basically tilted the digital wall, so the illusion is basically that they are at a certain angle. Yeah, and the sword isn't real as well, so we didn't kill anybody on set. Of course. Right. Yeah, this gives you a bit more of an idea on how the set looked. So basically, there was this fairly limited size of the set build. It's still fairly spectacular when you look at the complete technology in there. I mean, there's still a lot of like sky panels and everything in there. We have a fairly big setup and a motion capture setup. It was filmed in a ginormous stage, and since it was a research project, we had like monitors without end to actually create those things there. But you don't necessarily need a big wall to tell stories. And I really love this example because that's on The Killer on Netflix. I haven't worked on this one, but I like what they've done quite a bit. I actually couldn't tell those are driving plates. But they used an absolute minimal setup of LED to create the illusion of an actual driving car, which is awesome, as you see here. So basically, the wall you have upstairs is actually bigger than the ones they used on the big Netflix shoot. So basically, saying the size only enables you to do certain shots might be a bit basically open for interpretation in that regard. I like that it is a bit more streamlined. This is what Luke Smarkina and Marcus Further have done on the red notice as well. You notice basically this very odd shape, which is obviously following the CinemaScope, which is quite popular in film production, to create, basically to just barely fill the frame of the camera and create certain shots without wasting any resources and so on. And if you plan your shots ahead and actually think about what you want to do, this is basically a perfect result that turns out, because you don't pay a lot, it's going to be like nice for the money, and you have a really good value, which is coming out of this entire production. Right. You can go very, very big as well, though, right? So technically, there's not really a size limit in there. Of course, it's limited by money, weight, power, actually, render power, and like a lot more things. But technically, you could build as big as you want. This is the NAN studio in Melbourne, which is currently the biggest studio in the world, and it is significantly big, right? The issue is like not many productions can afford something like that, because that's obviously going to cost a certain price tag for each day. So this is kind of reserved for big productions. But since we're already talking about big walls, I want to talk about the big wall I got to build. And I got the pleasure to work on Poor Things, which now won 4 Academy Awards and 5 BAFTAs and a lot more prizes all around the world. And it was a fairly unique project because it was very quick and very efficient. It was filmed in Hungary in the Origo studios. And it was basically quite the experience, and I've never learned so much in such little time. There we go. It all started with this kind of drawing, which was kind of fun. So this was the set drawing I got in the very beginning. And I got the request, say, hey, if you had this certain amount of LED, what would you suggest should the shape be? So I just like whipped it up in Illustrator, so not even a technical drawing program. Put it together and basically showed them, hey, I think that might be a cool way of shooting. That's how you get a lot of coverage. And then I got to go on set to set up the LED with the amazing team of like Visual Humans and Tech. And I saw that they were using my thing as a reference, which was quite interesting at that moment. But you know, the things is they are pros. They really very much know what they're doing, so it's not just guesswork. And you see the first 2 panels kind of being mounted on there, and then quite quickly it became a lot bigger and a lot grander. You can see the kind of the size of one individual module on an LED wall there, which is quite impressive, and it became a literal beast. When we opened up the door of the studio, the LED started to wave like a curtain, which is a bit of a concerning thing to see. But then we stabilized it, we set it down on the ground, and it became fairly big. We had some lights as well, some significant amount of lighting. I think in total in the studio there were about 300 sky panels, 6 18 kilowatts lights. So it is a lot of light, which also needs a lot of power. And the LED wall definitely needs a lot of power as well. So we ended up basically getting power from 2 adjacent studios to actually power all the lights in the studios. And the power station got a call. We got a call from the power station when we swapped on every morning, because there was such a significant spike in the electricity that it was noticeable, which is, yeah, you know, a unique experience as well. But yeah, really, really impressive kind of setup like that. This is our server room. It started off really, really tidy, and then, well, as productions go along, you have the experience as well. This is Michael, one of the Pixera operators who helped us out, and we had 4 Pixera servers, each with basically 4 4K outputs. They went onto the things you see on the right side, the LED processors. We've technically translated it for the LED to be understandable. From there on out, we have fiber going into the studio. So all of this was in a container outside the studio, so we don't have any server noise and stuff like that inside of the studio. And yeah, this is everything we've powered. Usually we came in on like 2 or 3 hours before call time to make sure everything was up and running, and stayed an hour afterwards to make sure everything is ready for the next day, so long days. But I think it was worth it. I mean, it is fairly impressive when you actually walk around the LED wall. It just covered your entire peripheral face, basically eyes and everything like that. And I think it made an impression of like actually everybody who worked on set there, which is quite nice. I did a really funny thing with your biorhythm by there, just as an anecdote. But we were sitting basically on the right side of the frame here down here. And if you looked at sunset all day, you're always like in this state of like, oh, I'm just about ready to go home finally. And it got really weird when we were shooting. Basically, we shifted the schedule a bit towards night at one time because of shooting issues. But it was funny because we shot like daytime on the wall, so your body didn't really prepare for night at all. So when you stepped outside into midnight and you're like, huh, something is completely off here. So yeah, it was really, really, really nice. To get there. And yeah, as I say, we had a couple more curveballs, so it wasn't, of course, the only one. Setting up the wall was a challenge in itself. That was quite nice because the LED had to be flown in from China, set up within 5 days with the visual human tech guys, and they were like pulling it off really nicely. The vision team, like everybody on the local ground pulled together, otherwise this wouldn't have happened. We shot on analog film, of course, just to keep it easy. And at least for me, shooting analog was a very new thing. I'm not the generation who, grew up doing this stuff. So we found out how to synchronize the camera with the LED wall, which ended up being like an external synchronization box that was originally used to synchronize CRT monitors. So we basically reused ancient tech to make it work for our modern purposes. And it was quite interesting because the video assist, so the actual like monitoring we get from an analog camera, is very old as well. Meaning we get a very weird response to the LED wall in itself. So what we saw on set always looked a bit pinkish because it responded really weird. But you can't really correct that because you're exposing on a different sensor the actual motion picture film. So basically, you have to balance those two things. And luckily, the Robbie Ryan, the DOP, was like really, really kind about it. And he was like, I actually know what I'm doing. I know what will come out of it. It was still a nerve-wracking moment, opening the next morning, basically, the material from last day when it was developed overnight to just hope there's no issues in that sense. But yeah, it made a really, really big impression on everyone else around it as well. And this is just a bit of a couple quick samples from the Union VFX breakdown, the guys who provided all the content and did a lot of the planning and down. And we were cool because in the vision team stage across the road, they shot a couple of miniatures as well. So literally everything you see around the ship in the actual movie is done in virtual production. Of course, there's some enhancement with VFX to basically enhance the actual experience. Funny scenes like that, though, when they throw something overboard, it doesn't go into the water, it goes straight into the LED wall. And this was like a dead bird, so it was soft, not a real dead bird, but it was kind of soft and squishy, so it's fine. But they also started throwing books overboard, and this is, of course, a bit of a different story, because then you're sitting downstairs and you hear like something going right into the LED wall, see the row of dead pixels all around it. And then you have to sneak up to the actual LED stage and just ask somebody like Mark Ruffalo or like his assistant if they, could not throw the LED onto the LED, please. But yeah, it made a significant impression on all the actors as well. That was really, really nice. Emma Stone did a Variety interview with Bradley Cooper, and she actually mentioned the LED wall as well. So it basically mentions, there was this enormous LED wall on set, and it was really, really impressive. It was nice to work with. I don't know, this was kind of heartwarming because I think none of the big actors otherwise properly recognized our work yet. And another anecdote was quite funny because Robbie basically opens loves his wide-angle lenses and everything like that. So he's moving into a corner where I can't run my sync cable to the camera. So he just calls over this gaffer and asks him, "Hey, we need this camera there." And he just puts out this ginormous drill and drills a hole in this beautiful set over there. And you're just standing next to oh my God, this is not good. But then the best thing was basically I feel a tap on my shoulder and turn around. It's like Mark Ruffalo. And he's like, I've been on a lot of film sets. Why is everybody always waiting until you plug in your cable to be ready to be shooting? And I was like, well, I'm doing this LED stuff and so on. But he was so kind about it. He came downstairs and we talked about what we do and how we work with. And that was a really, really, really nice experience in general. But yeah, it was a very stressful time as well, as I said. Not too much sleep, but I never learned so much in that sense. And of course, it opened a lot of doors afterwards, because pulling something like that off was a significant thing. But I just want to give credit to every single person that worked there, all the companies from RE Rental, Vision Team, Visual Humans at Tech, ICT, everybody who was involved. They really pulled together and actually pulled it off, which was, a fairly big challenge at the time, because it was COVID as well, by the way, just as a hint. But just to summarize something like that, I started in the beginning because, this basically gives you an overview of what we can do in motion picture. But there's so many different areas where we can work as well. So it's not limited to one certain part of production, because when you master the real-time engine, when you master tracking, when you master kind of those tools that are around it, it opens the world up for you to work across industries in the media industry. So, for example, looking at VFX, we talked about animation just earlier now. So the simulcam workflow is something you can very easily do if you already work with virtual production, because you have the Unreal Engine, a real-time engine, you have tracking, you have motion capture, and all of that stuff we have there anyways. You just add an additional component where you actually replace something you see in the scene, and all of a sudden you are ready to work in VFX, which is quite nice. The game industry, of course, there's a lot of more adaptations happening from all the sides. Fallout, one of the prime examples, really, really amazing series, adapted very well for the screen. Also used a lot of virtual production, by the way, so I encourage you to kind of Google up on that one. And basically, this is super nice, because if you have a game with all the assets and everything ready already, bringing them into the Unreal Engine and making them ready for a film shoot is a fairly small step. We can do live events. I got to go to the Esports World Cup this year and basically do a lot of AR production. Again, sharing the same workflows, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time, and you can profit from the industries across the road who actually figured out a lot of stuff we basically maybe have not yet figured out. And then the other way as well, you can bring value to productions that otherwise might have not had it in that sense. AI is super interesting as well. We developed workflows to very quickly create characters and stuff like that, but we try to keep it human-focused. So the idea is to create AI that actually supports the artist and not takes work away, which is also the important message we want to get out there. So hey, it's not a scary thing. It's an additional tool you need to learn, and if you use it right, you're gonna be able to achieve things that other people can't in that sense. VR and AR, super interesting stuff. I don't know if you had a chance to wear a VR goggle at some point, or maybe even the Apple Vision glasses. There was this really amazing music video now, which has been released from The Weeknd, which they shot in full stereoscopy. But it was a very unique experience. I've never seen something like that before. It was quite nice, because you're 30 centimeters away from his face, stuff like that. And there's one shot where you walk into a full stadium, basically just behind him. So it walks like you're walking next to him into this stadium with everybody going like crazy, and you're like full-on goosebumps. So it is quite significant. And again, same technology, using cameras, using stereoscopy and so all that. And of course, film production. I mean, this is going to be the main thing that I'm still going to love it, no matter what I do. That's going to be the thing I'll try to keep doing for as long as I can. And I hope all of you as well get a chance to enjoy, learn the joy of actually doing this stuff on set. Well, yeah, that should have given you a bit of a glimpse into the world of virtual production, what we've done on the different sets. And well, thank you very much for having me, and feel free to reach out anytime.